Hey, this is George Lynch from Lynch Mob, and that just happened. Hey guys, it is Front Row Joe with That Just Happened. We're sitting in the green room with none other than George Lynch of Lynch Mob. Just got finished with an awesome set. Sounded fantastic. Got to hand it to you guys.
PA sounded great. I don't know about the band, but the PA sounded great.
The band sounded awesome, and couldn't be happier as a fan with the new guy. And he seems to be settling in, correct?
Well, this is the new old guy. So today we had Andrew Freeman on vocals. He was subbing because, Lynch Mob is a little bit of a revolving door. And we have a number of different guys that kind of rotate in and out of the band on the singing spot. So there's Robert Mason, sometimes it's Nathan Oots, and then sometimes Andrew Freeman will sub for us. He's done that a few times. So it's a revolving door.
Yeah, and that's kind of been consistent in an interview with Eddie Trunk.
Very consistent with our inconsistency, yeah.
Yes. If there's anything about change, it's that it's always changing. Yeah, excellent. So let's talk about the Brotherhood, released last year. Listening to it, it seems like, or I read a review that there's plenty of riffs, there's plenty of great solos, as one would expect from you, but they're not as prominent or maybe up front, allowing for more of a band type feel. Is that a fair assessment? And if so, was that the aim or just a byproduct of the Brotherhood?
Well, we never go into a record project with a preconceived idea of what we want, which is probably not a good idea, but in other words, we never have a plan. We have a plan logistically of how we're going to get it recorded, but as far as what kind of record we're going to write, we don't know until we write it. So, there's a lot of variables making albums, but I found that trying to account for them and plan for them is really, it comes out the way it's going to come out no matter what. You're going to write what you write. We kind of bounce off each other. There's a certain chemistry with a certain four guys, and we capture a certain moment in time. There's no way around that. And then again, if you're spending 3 weeks creating a record versus 6 months, you're going to have a different kind of record, of course. But all the records I tend to do these days are done pretty quickly, actually. So as I said, we're capturing a moment in time, and there's some flaws and there's some things we could have done better, and we also captured some magic, so I make no excuses for it.
Yeah, excellent. And you talked about the revolving door or whatnot, but your projects seem to be ever mounting, and Eddie Trunk in the interview said that you're like the Mike Portnoy of guitars with all of your side projects, KXM, the Infidels, Ultraphonics. I'll ask you the same question that I asked Mike Portnoy. What is it about that? Is it musical ADD? Is it the lack of the ability to say no? Is it the compulsion to work with other artists and creative outlet? What can you attribute that to?
Well, you just answered your own question. It is those three things, and plus the fact that I can. So, I'm fortunate enough to be a semi-known entity to where I can work with other people. So I do. And I love to write, and I love to work in the studio. I love to create something from nothing, and I do it all day long if I could, every day of the week. I honestly love being in the studio and writing. I like being in the studio writing a song a day. Sometimes I'll just do that anyways. So why not put 10 or 12 of those songs together and call it an album and get paid? Another side of this whole thing is the practical side is this is my job, and I've got mortgages and kids in college and a big family, and this is my job, and it's there's the creative side and then there's the practical side, so I got to consider both and weigh them both. So I like to stay busy, and I also need to stay busy. So I run into a problem doing a lot of recording projects because I get so many projects on my plate. I can't really release them all, so I get this glut, and it starts to back up, and I'm talking about my records, not my digestion.
Not your GI tract.
Right. So I'm going to have to slow down. Actually, I think I am slowing down now. As of the next couple projects I do, after the next 2 or 3, that's it. I'm slowing down
until the next 2 or 3 come along, and then you're
right. Yeah. Well, I've got another couple. I've just finished up with this project that really doesn't have a name that I could talk about right now, but it's a European vocalist. He's a singer from Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and him and I did a record, and we just are finishing that up. I wrote all the songs and finished all the guitar. We're finishing the vocals. I got Will Hunt on drums. Was a really super fun record to make, and so that'll be coming out at some point next year. I'm doing another Lynch Mob record next year. I'll probably be starting on that in December or January, writing the songs for that. We got a third KXM record coming out late spring of next year or early summer. I've got The End Machine, which is Dawkins with the singer from Warrant, which is the singer from the second Lynch Mob record, Robert Mason. That's coming out in February. That's all done in the can. So, basically, as far as I'm concerned, I like just putting out records every 3-4 months. Record companies don't like that. Fans don't like that. But fuck them. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I like making music. They'll sort it out when I'm gone. Hopefully somebody will give a shit. But I'm just putting it out there in the atmosphere, and hopefully somebody picks up on it. And it's all I can do, because for me it's cathartic to just write and play and create little musical babies.
Well, I mean, the mark of a true artist, you have to create, and you can't just sit idly by. You mentioned the record business. You mentioned mortgages to pay, kids in college. A lot of the legacy guys are, kind of maligning the way that the music business has turned out in the current environment. But it really has given rise to, and does it take credit, it really has given rise to what you're doing. What Mike Portnoy is doing is the ability to go off and create these super groups or to collaborate with other artists. Is that kind of a silver lining to this whole thing?
I think maybe less than a silver lining. I think I would categorize it as a necessity. So when I talk to younger kids, like at clinics or things like that, where I get together with people and talk about my career and the state of the music business and guitar and things like that, and invariably young kids will ask me for some advice, and when I say young kids, I mean people are in their 30s or 40s, right? I'm just kidding, but I say one of my suggestions is that you really got to learn to find every little pocket and niche that you can and explore those areas rather than just your one thing. I mean, be open to that. Not everybody's built that way. But for myself, just using myself as an example, I've been dealing with endorsers for a long time. I endorse a lot of products, which is very interesting and fun for me. As I get involved with the product development, the marketing, and so forth, and demonstrating. I'll go out and I'll tour. I'll do tours where I demonstrate products that I help design, and that's pretty gratifying. And I like that. And it's still the music business, and I'm still playing guitar. I build guitars. I have my own guitar company, Mr. Scary Guitars. I build 10 guitars a year, essentially in my backyard. I write songs for other people. I have a recording studio, so I'll produce outside projects. So that's some of the things I've done to diversify, anything I can think of, So, I know younger people are more adaptable, so, they can get into social media, they can do their own videos, they can do their own websites and find ways to make money on YouTube, and, there's always people always find a way, nature finds a way, and we're part of the natural world, so we, as organisms, we find a way to continue to survive and exist and proliferate, and do well. Things are aligned against us right now because, records are not really selling for obvious reasons that we all know about. You're not going to get paid much on clicks and streams, but there's something there, songwriting, touring. Touring is a part of my mix. I got to keep touring. I love to play live, but it's only a piece of the puzzle for me. So, be diversified, I think, would be the message that I would send out to other people.
Yeah, and you mentioned, no one, I say no one, but a large majority of artists like yourself are not making much off of records. So the question is, what drives you to create in the studio? And you mentioned it, tours and the creative outlet, but also for the fans, correct?
Well, if you're not creating, does it matter if you exist? I mean, that's the thing. That's what defines me is the music that I hear in my head that I try to get out of my head. And I haven't been really successful at doing that. So I keep trying, and I keep chasing that dragon. That's basically what it is, whether I was getting paid or not. But I do make money making records, and I do that because I've learned to do records very economically and be very economic with my time. So, for instance, the record I just finished with Dino from Trans-Siberian Orchestra, I did that record in 11 days. When I say I did the record, it means I wrote the songs, got all the drums, bass, and guitars done. And then not the vocals and not the mix. And then it goes to vocals. Dino throws vocals down remotely, and then he sends it to the mixer, and the mixer spends a couple of weeks mixing the record. But I did everything I needed to do in 11 days. Drums were 2 days or 3 days. And then, and that way I can actually make money. But in the old days, you get $500,000 for a record or $250,000 for a record, and you spend 6 months doing it, or in the case of Wicked Sensation, a year, spending $500,000. I can make a record for a lot less than that. Yeah, a tiny fraction of that, which we all do. That's what we're all doing. But good records and deep records. No, I don't have the luxury of being Pink Floyd and going in and, experimenting and, I don't have the time to do that. I wish that's the one thing I miss and I regret about doing records the way I have to do them now is I'm not able to really, I don't have the luxury of sitting in the studio and just playing with things and experimenting and searching for sounds and ideas. And, I do miss that.
Gotcha. Talking about your side projects, everything you got going on. Holy crap, 2019 sounds like a big year for the releases. It's hard to find some more obscure projects. I'm going to try right now and ask something that was surprising to me, but very, very curious is the Disney rock guitar album, where you lent your guitar to Hellfire, right?
Right.
Yeah. So how did that come about?
Well, that goes back to what I was saying about being diversified. I'm always putting myself out there, and I have an agent and I have a manager, and they're bringing me things here and there, and I'm always pushing for that. Give me some movie soundtrack work, give me some trailer work, give me, I'm just all music. I love it, and I like different genres. Get me on something that people wouldn't expect me to play on. A blues record, a fucking jazz, anything. A prog record, a pop record. Seriously, a hip hop record.
Yeah.
I would love it. Quite often, and a lot of my fans will be like, "What?" And I'm like, "No, dude, I love it." Actually, one of my engineers got hired away from me recently to work with Kanye West, and I'm not dropping a name, but I guess I am. But he's still working with him, and he, texts me every once in a while and sends me messages. He went to Africa. He's like living in a tent recording African music with Kanye. Then in New York, then in Chicago. He's back in LA, and it's like, dude, get me on a track. Get me on a Kanye track. I will fuck that shit up. Give me a funky, ass-shaking beat, some fucking, some programmed hip-hop beat. I would love that, because you never see that. You never see that. And I'm not saying I just do straight rock guitar. I might do something where I don't know what I do, until I hear the track. But
he might be open to it, because he did sample Kashmir back in the day for one of his biggest hits. So Kanye might be open to it.
Okay. Well, if you could ask him, that'd be cool. And then,
I'll see what I can do for you, George.
$100,000. Yeah, per note.
Yeah. I like it. Well, we'll let you get back to it. You already talked about how you've got these projects and all this stuff coming out next year. You know, That Just Happened was born out of moments like this. After we leave here, we're going to say, holy shit, we just interviewed George Lynch. That just happened. Over your long storied career, other than meeting one of your idols, Jeff Beck, do you have another That Just Happened moment that pops out into your mind?
There are a lot of them. Well, I mean, I would say, honestly, the biggest one for me personally, which might not resonate with a lot of people, was when I was process of filming Shadow Nation, the documentary that I was working on a few years ago. I got to fly to Boston, New Haven, Connecticut, and sit down with Noam Chomsky for about an hour and a half. And 30 minutes of that time, it was just him and I in a room together, alone, talking. And that was my, I'm nervous, but I have to, just knowing I'm in the presence of such a giant brain and such an important thinker and a person that I respect so much and I've read so much of, and then sitting right there in a room with him just made me almost frozen, all right. That was really hard for me to do that interview, but I ended up getting to share some time with him, and wow, yeah, that was it for me.
Yeah. Well, that's very cool, and that's exactly what we're talking about. That's a great That Just Happened moment. Guys, we're here again, George Lynch, Lynch Mob, and That Just Happened.